Hello everyone. So welcome back to the video. In the previous video we learned how to install Ollama and run basic commands in Ollama and then try to create our own version of the LLM and run it in the terminal. Now in this video we will move further and we will try to integrate Ollama in Python language and try to build a chain out of that. And at the end of the video we will also create one working project using sequential chain and other concepts. So to do that, we'll start with the basic thing again. So I hope everyone have already installed the Ollama. If not, you can find the video in the description. You can go ahead and watch that video first and install Ollama and then get back to this particular video. So yeah, with that said, we'll start the video. So let me open first IPython notebook file. So in this one, we will just walk you through how exactly we will use Ollama in Python language. So to do that, we need something called as Ollama library. You can directly get it like pip install Ollama. So you can directly do this in your terminal and you will be able to download the a particular library. Okay, I'll just run this command. And what you can do is you can just type ollama.chat. Chat is a function, and in this one you will be able to write the model of the LLM. In this case it is LLaMA 3.1, and in the messages it takes a list, so list of objects. So here I will be writing role as user and then the content as suggest me a tourist place in India. So as you already know, this would be the prompt. So with this thing, when we run this, it will call the LLM and try to get this prompt executed, and we will also get the response in the response object. Okay, let me just run it. Now that this particular line is executed, note that it took me around 38 seconds, and probably for you it might be taking even more. So don't worry, since this is running locally, it will take time to execute those commands, right? So now we have response. Let me just print that. So you can see there are countless tourist places in India, but I'll suggest one that's often considered a multi-visit, that is Goa, right? So it's responding in a correct way. This is what we wanted, right? So this is a small way and the easiest way to run a particular prompt and ask your LLM to respond. So now let's make it a bit more complicated. So let's move on to the next IPython notebook. So here what I'm doing is from LangChain.LLMs I'm importing Ollama. So earlier I was directly using Ollama. Now I'm using this LLMs library. So here what happens is now it will give a facility to create our object, and based on that we can chain it. So let's talk a bit about what chain means and what is LangChain. So LangChain is a framework which allows us to write code and execute it with the LLMs. So we can do different operations using LangChain, right? So in this case, in this particular notebook, we will learn about how we can write a prompt in a more efficient way. In this one, we just wrote suggest me a tourist place in India. Now I want to remove this India and make it dynamic value, right? So if the user wants Australia, then he can add that. If user wants some other country, he can add that, right? So to do that, we can there is something called as prompt template. So we will talk about that, and we'll also write a basic chain, and then based on that we will try to execute the LLM, right? So to do that, I imported Ollama not directly, but I imported from LangChain.LLMs, right? So after that, you just need to write Ollama, that is the constructor, and then you specify the model like you specified earlier. But in this one only, you are not writing the prompt. Instead, you are initializing it to a variable, right? I'll just keep on running this commands. Okay, so once this is done, next comes the prompt template. So what is prompt template? Prompt template is there is certain things you need to ask the LLM, and few things in that are dynamic. So you can do that thing using this prompt template class. So here what I'm doing, I'm just creating a constructor called prompt template, and that will take an input variables country, so it can take multiple input variables. And here in the template I'm just saying suggest me a tourist place in this country, that is whatever the dynamic value it is. Okay, in this country I only want 1 or 2 word with place name. Okay, I am asking with the dynamic value, so I'm assigning also it to the variable. Okay, now since I have this variable setup, I can use it anywhere. So what I'm doing is I'll just write this format and try to add India in that. So it will become suggest me a tourist place in India country. I only want 1 or 2 word with place name, right? So this way it works. So let's try to bind it to LLM and try to execute and ask the LLM itself. Okay, to do that there is something called as LLM chain, which comes in LangChain.chains package. So in this one, what you can do is you just need to create a constructor of that and just pass the LLM which we created here, right? I'm just passing that, and in the prompt section I'm just passing the prompt template name, right? So in this way I'm just passing that and I'm just assigning it to a variable called chain. Now to do this we just write chain.run and I'm passing the country as India this time. Let me just pass it as Australia. Let's see what it gives. So the ideally it should give a 1 or 2 word place name, tourist place name, right? So I'll just execute the command. Okay, so it gave us Uluru. This is the tourist place it seems in Australia. So we got the answer, and this is what we wanted to learn from this particular notebook. So the idea here was to create a prompt template instead of directly querying, because you will get to know the importance of this moving forward in this video. But again, just understand that this is much more simpler in terms of dynamically adding the values, right? And we also use the chains concept to chain single thing, not multiple things, just one single thing, and then we got the output by running chain.run. Well, now let me talk about the project which we'll be building in this video. So the idea here is we will have a website where we will tell the model that okay, we need a tourist place from so and so country. We will give a drop down, from there we can select which country we need, and the main goal of the model is to tell the tourist name, that is the first thing, and also tell the description, like tell more about that particular place. So this is the basic project which we'll be doing, and to do this in the website development side we will be using Streamlit. So Streamlit is a very simple lightweight library which is used to build websites. Okay, now to create a particular chain, so there are 2 things involved here. First thing is taking the input. Let me just pull up the image here. Okay, so we will start with the simple sequential chain here. Okay, so in the simple sequential chain what happens is there will be 1 input and there will be only 1 output. So if you see here, there is 1 input and there is 1 output. Okay, so in between we have 2 blocks, that is chain 1 and chain 2. So here what happens is we will pass input as India and we'll give the prompt template as suggest me a tourist place in India. So this is the input variable for us. Okay, and chain 1 is responsible to only suggest the tourist name in the first place. So the output of that would be a tourist place name, whatever. In the previous case we did with Australia, right? So it was Uluru. So it will suggest something like that given the country name. Okay, now the next chain, the importance of sequential chain is we can pass the output of one chain to the next chain as an input. So we will pass this tourist place name as an input to chain 2. Okay, so in this way what it does in the second chain, what we will write is tell me more about this particular place, right? So it will output the description of the tourist place, whichever is given as the input. Okay, so in the simple sequential chain we will give 1 input and at the end we will only get 1 output. Okay, so let me show it in the code as well. Let me open that notebook. So this is the code for simple sequential chain. Now things are getting a little bit complex, but stick with me, it is very easy. So as I told, it will only take 1 input and only 1 output, right? So in the same thing which we did last time, so all the steps are almost same. So same thing we are importing, same thing we are setting the model, and then we are also creating the prompt template. In this way I'm setting the exact same template, I think. Yeah, so exact same template I'm setting, country, and suggest me a tourist place in this country. I want one or two word with place name. Okay, so we have our template ready. Now we will create our first chain, that is this chain one we are creating. So what we are doing, we are telling that chain name as tourist place name, since it predicts that particular or suggests that particular tourist place. Okay, now we are also using LLM chain constructor class, and then we are passing LLM and then this particular template. Okay, so here whenever we call this particular prompt template, we will get a suggestion of a tourist place. This is our main idea. Now we will also create chain 2. So this particular part we are creating. So here what we are calling, we are just again calling prompt template, and then input variables we are telling, okay, we need to pass tourist place name as the input. Okay, this is something which is passed as an input, and in the template I'm telling, tell me more about this particular tourist place. So the idea is, in the first chain it will give you it will suggest you the tourist place in that particular given country, and in the second chain it will tell more about that particular tourist place. Okay, simple chain. Now we will import one more class called simple sequential chain. In the simple sequential chain, again I'll iterate, that is it will take only one input and one output, right? So yeah, we'll create a chain. So in the last time we did this LLM chain and we directly ran that chain itself. Now since we have two chains, we need some wrapping class, that is in our case it is simple sequential chain. So in this one we are just passing the chains, and in the list we will pass both the chains. One is tourist place names chain and description chain. And note that this sequence matters. Whatever is the first thing, it matters. If you place this one in the second, the output will be different. So this sequence matters here. And then what you can do is you can just say chain.invoke and whatever country you want to pass. So the first prompt here is this one, so we need to pass country, and it will automatically pass the output of this chain to the input of this chain. Okay, let me again call it Australia itself. Okay, let me run from the beginning once. Okay, now the execution is done, so I'll just print the output of the response. So you can see here, you're likely thinking of Sydney Opera House. So we got this thing right? So in the first thing we sent Australia, and it suggested a tourist place called, I think, Opera it suggested, but we can't see it in the output. So even if I just say response, it just says input Australia and then output this. Okay, but in our case we also wanted the tourist place name, but since it is a simple sequential chain, we can't able to get the intermediate outputs. So in the image, if you see, the output here was tourist place name, but we didn't get that since it is a simple sequential chain. Now for the website which we are doing at the end of the video, we also need the tourist place name which we need to display it in the website, right? So to do that, we can't do it in simple sequential chain. There is something called as sequential chain. So using that, we can able to get the intermediate outputs also of that chain one. Also we can get the output. So let's try to check that. So I have just created one more notebook file. Mind you, this entire project is already added in my GitHub, and I have linked that particular thing in the YouTube description. You can just, not YouTube description, in the video description, you can go and check it. Okay, now let's talk about sequential chain. So in this, the only difference is we can have multiple inputs and multiple outputs. So this is why I was stressing more on this input and output thing. So here we can have multiple inputs and we can have multiple outputs, but for this simplicity, I'm just considering this only as the example where we only have one input, but in the output we want tourist place and description both, because these two things we need to display in the website. So we will be doing that both as the output. So in this one, same thing, like we imported Ollama and then we set the model. Next thing is we will set the prompt template for the first chain. That is exactly the same. Nothing is changed here. And then again we are setting this LLM chain, but now the only one change which is there is we write this output key. Okay, in the tourist place name we are writing the output key as tourist place name, right? In this way, whatever this chain outputs, that will be stored in tourist place name. Okay, so I have just done that. I have run that, and now we will create the second chain also. In the second chain we just say tourist place name, the same thing which we wrote in the simple sequential chain, and tell me more about this tourist place name. Okay, and then here also we are setting the output key with the name description. So there will be tourist place name as the output as well as the description as the output. Okay, so I'll run this as well. Okay, now in the last section, in the last I think notepad, we imported simple sequential chain from chains. Now in this one we are importing sequential chain from the same package itself. Okay, so in this one, chains, same thing. Last time whatever was there in simple sequential chain, in the input variables also I think it was same only. Okay, it was not there. So okay, input variables was added here, that is country. Okay, and in the output variables we have these two things. So these two are mentioned here and those things are also mentioned here, so that we can get it as an output variable. Okay, so now since we have chain, so the first chain requires a country input, so that I'm providing. So let's keep it India this time. So I'll just run this code. Okay, so it ran and it took me roughly around 50 seconds. So it might take more time in your laptop, so don't worry, you can just wait until it's done. So in this one we got output something like this, where we have country India, tourist place as Agra Fort, and then the description with the description of the Agra Fort, right? So this is a better way of chaining stuff, so that we get all the context here, so that we can display it in the website, right? In the simple sequential chain, what we got is just input and output. We didn't get anything else. Intermediate, the tourist place, we didn't get, but here we tried to retrieve and persist the data of the tourist place as well, right? So this completes the knowledge what we require to build our project. So let's move on to the project now. So if you have any queries, any questions, and if you want any extra explanation from me, just ping me in the comment section, and I'll definitely make another video explaining more about those particular tasks, right? So let's move on to the website. So in this one, what I have created is a web app folder which has the website code. It's a basic application, so I'll just click on main.py. so only this much code is there. So to do this, you just need to do pip install Streamlit. So this is the library which is responsible for building the websites. So it is very handy just to build basic websites. You can use this just to see some output in the more visually appealing way. So you can do that, and I have just imported that as st, and then we can just say st.title, plan your next trip. Okay, this is something which I'm giving as a title, and I'm also giving set st.sidebar.select box. This is a drop down box which has this particular label, pick a country, and then I'm giving a list of countries here: Australia, India, England, USA, New Zealand. I have given around five countries as the input. The user can select whichever country, and the idea is to get the tourist name suggestion and also the description, right? These two things are very important for this project. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm just storing whatever the user has entered in the selected country variable, and I'm checking if it is empty or not. If it is not empty, then I'm just calling LLM service.suggest tourist place. This is the function which I have written in this utility folder called LangChain helper. So in this one, same thing which you learned in sequential chain notebook, right? Same thing I have written inside a function. You can just go through this. It is exactly the same thing, and I'm returning the response of that. Okay, whatever you got here, right, in this notebook, country tourist description, I'm returning that exact thing here. Okay, so moving back to this main.py. So what I'm doing, once we get the response, I'm just writing the country name, whatever was selected. Okay, write is a basic paragraph tag, p tag, which we have in HTML. Header is something you can relate it to h1, I think h1 h2 tag. Okay, in the HTML. So I'm just saying the tourist name, response, and then tourist place name. So this is what we have given in the key, right? So that is something which I'm adding, and then I'm just adding a description with this means the bold thing, and then st.write the description I'm adding. Okay, so this is a basic application which I have written, and now to run this we just need to say streamlit run main.py. Okay, so let me just run this one, streamlit run main.py. Okay, so now it is open. See, you can see a beautiful website loaded, and it is actually running. So I think India is already selected by default, so it's just running. Okay, I think India was already selected, so it ran this one. So you can see a beautiful website loaded with all the Gen AI and all the magic happening in this particular website. So given the country, it is suggesting the tourist place name, that is in this case Goa, and in the description it is giving a proper proper description, right, for the Goa and all the tips and essentials which is required for a Goa trip. Okay, just to be sure, let's try with some other country. Let's say I'll just select England. Okay, so in the England it suggested me to go to Stonehenge, and it has also provided the description for that. So yeah, our website is working and our model is working correctly, right? So in this way we completed a very small project but very important project from Gen AI, LangChain, and all the chain related concepts like chaining, like prompt templates, all those things we covered in this video. I think this video is a little bit long, but yeah, it's worth watching completely. So yeah, so all this is all about this video, and in case you guys need some explanation on that, you can just ping me in comment section. I'll definitely reply, and then if possible I can also create one more video explaining more on this particular project. Yeah, with that said, also let me know if you guys need something else in the Gen AI and LangChain world. I'll definitely try to make a video of that. And with that said, yeah, thank you so much for watching.